The rain had just stopped when I dropped to one knee in front of the polished oak casket at my father's funeral in the old Illinois chapel. "Anthony, will you marry me?" I asked, my voice steady even as my hands shook holding the simple silver band I had carried for months. Gasps rippled through the pews like a sudden wind. My brother Ryan stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. My sister Emily covered her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief. Mom sat frozen in the front row, clutching a tissue, her face pale under the bright stained glass light streaming in. Anthony stared down at me, his brown eyes filling with tears, but also something deeper, like fear mixed with love. He pulled me up into a hug right there in front of everyone, whispering, "Yes, Malik, yes," into my ear. The chapel erupted in murmurs and a few angry shouts from uncles I barely knew. I had planned this moment for weeks, thinking it would honor Dad somehow, that he would have wanted me to stop hiding. But as we stood there hand in hand, the weight of every secret year crashed down. The service ended in awkward silence. People filed out, avoiding my eyes. Anthony squeezed my hand tighter as we walked toward the door. "We don't have to explain anything today," he said softly. But I knew we did. Ryan caught up outside under the bright afternoon sun, his face red. "What the hell was that, Malik? Dad's barely in the ground and you pull this stunt." Emily followed, tears streaming. "You never told us. Not once. How could you?" Mom just shook her head and climbed into the car without a word. My chest tightened with the old familiar panic, the one I had buried since college when I first realized I was different. Anthony stayed calm, his voice even. "This isn't the time or place, Ryan. Let's get through today." But Ryan wasn't done. "You think Dad would have approved of this? Of you throwing it in our faces?" I wanted to shout back that Dad had known more than they realized, but the words stuck. Instead, I pulled Anthony toward our rental car, the ring now on his finger glinting in the light. Back at the family house, the old two-story on the edge of town, the tension hung thick. Relatives whispered in corners. I retreated to the kitchen with Anthony pouring coffee, neither of us speaking much. The lawyer, Mr. Hargrove, arrived early, his briefcase clicking on the hardwood. "The will reading is scheduled for tomorrow, but your father left instructions for a video message first if you're all here." We gathered in the living room, the same room where Dad used to watch football on Sundays. The TV flickered to life, and there was Dad, thinner than I remembered but smiling, that familiar crooked grin. "Malik, if you're watching this, I know you brought Anthony. I've known for years, son. And I'm proud of the man you are." The room went dead silent. Dad continued, "I left something for both of you, but you'll hear the details tomorrow. Just remember, love is love, kiddo. Don't let anyone take that from you." The screen went black. Ryan slammed his fist on the table. "This is insane." "He knew, and he never said a word." Emily sobbed quietly. Mom stared at the floor. Anthony looked at me, his face full of quiet support, but I could see the questions in his eyes too. I had spent years protecting them from this truth, thinking it would break us. Now Dad had torn the door open from the grave. My heart raced with a mix of relief and terror. What else had he left behind? The night stretched long with whispered arguments and unanswered calls from cousins. Anthony held me on the back porch under the stars. "Whatever comes tomorrow, we face it together." I nodded, but inside the old doubts whispered louder than ever. Was I ready for the family I loved to see the real me? The proposal had been my step forward, but Dad's words felt like a push off a cliff. Sleep came in fits and starts, the weight of the coming day pressing down like the Illinois humidity. By morning, the house buzzed with nervous energy. Neighbors dropped off casseroles, offering awkward condolences while stealing glances at Anthony and me. Ryan cornered me in the hallway. "You better not think this changes anything about the business. Dad built that company for us, not some surprise." I bit back the anger. "We'll hear what he wanted soon enough." Anthony stayed by my side through breakfast, his presence a quiet anchor. We drove to the lawyer's office in separate cars, the family convoy tense and silent. The small conference room smelled of coffee and old books. "Mr. Hargrove cleared his throat as we sat. "Before we begin the formal reading, your father asked that I play one more short clip." The screen lit up again. Dad looked straight at the camera. "Malik, Anthony, I hope you're both here. I've watched you two from afar. The way you support each other, it's the real deal. That's why I'm leaving the family construction company to you jointly, but only if you marry and lead it openly. Otherwise it goes to a youth center in Chicago that helps kids like you, Malik. I'm sorry I never said it when I was alive. Be happy, son. The video ended. Ryan exploded first. He can't do that. This is manipulation from beyond the grave. Emily turned to me, tears fresh. You knew about this, didn't you? All these years you let us believe you were straight. Mom finally spoke, her voice breaking. Your father and I talked once. He made me promise not to interfere. I should have told you, Malik. The room spun. Anthony reached for my hand under the table, but I pulled away, the shock hitting like a wave. Dad had known everything. He had chosen love over tradition in his final act. But the cost was tearing my family apart right in front of me. I stood up, my chair scraping loud. I need air. Outside in the bright parking lot, Anthony followed. Malik, talk to me. I turned, the proposal ring still warm on his finger. He blessed us. But look what it's doing to them. To us. The first cracks in my certainty appeared as the family spilled out, arguing already. The journey I thought would bring peace had just begun, and it felt like everything I knew was crumbling. The drive back to the house was silent except for the hum of tires on the highway. Anthony sat in the passenger seat, staring out at the flat Illinois fields, his hand resting near mine but not touching. I gripped the wheel tighter, the lawyer's words echoing in my head. Joint ownership only if we married openly. Otherwise, the company Dad poured 40 years into would go to strangers helping gay kids. It was generous. It was bold. It was a bomb dropped on the family I had tried so hard to protect. Ryan's truck tailgated us the whole way, his anger practically visible in the rearview. When we pulled into the driveway, he was out before the engine died. We need to talk, Malik. Now. Emily and Mom followed inside the living room, feeling smaller than ever. Anthony stayed close but gave me space. This is crazy. Ryan started pacing. Dad lost his mind at the end. We can contest this. The company is ours by blood. Emily nodded, wiping her eyes. You never even introduced Anthony properly all these years. Now we're supposed to hand over everything because of some video? Mom sat on the couch, her hands folded. Your father knew what he was doing. He saw how you two looked at each other at Thanksgiving last year. He told me then that Malik deserved to be happy. I sank into the armchair, the same one Dad used to sit in. The relief from his words mixed with guilt. I had hidden Anthony for 8 years, meeting in Chicago, keeping visits short. Dad had known and stayed silent to keep peace. Now his silence was forcing us all to speak. Anthony finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. I'm not here for the company. I'm here for Malik. If this will is tearing you apart, maybe we should step back. I looked at him, surprised. No. Dad wanted this for a reason. Ryan laughed bitterly. Yeah, to punish us for not knowing your secret. Nice going, Malik. You propose at the funeral and suddenly we're the bad guys. The argument escalated, voices rising. Emily accused me of selfishness. I shot back about years of Sunday dinners where I smiled through questions about girlfriends. Mom tried to mediate, but her own tears stopped her. Anthony pulled me aside in the kitchen. This is your family, Malik. I don't want to be the reason it breaks. His eyes held the same worry I had seen when we first met in college, when I was too scared to hold his hand in public. I touched his face. You're not the reason. Dad is giving us a chance to be real. But doubt crept in. Was I ready to lead the company openly? My job in Chicago was safe, anonymous. Here in Dad's world, everyone knew everyone. The afternoon dragged with phone calls to cousins, lawyers, friends. Ryan threatened to hire his own attorney. Emily left early, slamming the door. Mom hugged me before bed, whispering, your father loved you. He just didn't know how to say it until now. Alone with Anthony in the guest room, I finally broke. What if I can't do this? What if choosing us means losing them? He held me tight. Then we figure it out together. But remember why you proposed yesterday. That wasn't for them. It was for us. Sleep came hard, the will's conditions looping in my dreams. Morning brought more tension. The local newspaper had somehow heard rumors and a reporter called. Ryan answered and hung up cursing. See what you started? I walked the property with Anthony. The old barn and fields Dad had planned to expand the business into. He wanted us here, I said. Anthony nodded, but his shoulders were tense. Or he wanted to force your hand. Love shouldn't come with strings, Malik. The word stung because part of me wondered the same. By afternoon, the family reconvened. Mr. Hargrove stopped by with paperwork. The condition is clear. Marriage within 6 months and public leadership of the company or it transfers. Ryan stood. I'll fight this in court. It's coercion. I looked at Anthony, then at my family, the people who raised me. Maybe we all need time, but time felt like a luxury we didn't have. That night on the porch, Anthony and I talked late. I said yes at the funeral because I love you, not the drama, he said. I kissed him under the stars, feeling the first real peace since Dad's death. Yet the family rift grew wider with every hour. Ryan packed a bag, heading back to his place in town. Emily texted me angry words. Mom watched from the window, her face etched with worry. The proposal that started as love had become a battlefield, and I stood in the middle wondering if Dad's blessing was a gift or the start of losing everything I thought I knew. Weeks blurred after the will reading. I flew back to Chicago with Anthony, the city lights a welcome contrast to the small-town silence. My apartment felt different now, the proposal ring on his finger a constant reminder. At work, my architecture firm colleagues noticed the change. You look different, Malik, my boss said during a meeting. I smiled but didn't explain. Anthony taught at the local high school, his students unaware of the storm back home. We tried normalcy, dinners, walks, long talks. But the phone calls from Illinois never stopped. Ryan left voicemails about contesting the will. Emily sent articles on family values and inheritance laws. Mom called every few days, her voice tired. Your sister's struggling. Ryan's talking to lawyers. I just want peace. I paced the living room after one call, Anthony watching from the couch. They're making me the villain for loving you. He stood, pulling me close. You're not. Your dad saw that. Maybe they will too. But doubt lingered. I started therapy the first time, admitting out loud how hiding had shaped me. The counselor nodded. Your father's condition is forcing what you avoided. Growth hurts. Flashbacks hit hard at night. College in Urbana, Anthony, the outgoing art major, me, the quiet engineering student. We met at a campus event I almost skipped. His laugh pulled me in. Months of secret dates, fear of my family finding out. The first time I told him, I can't come out yet, he had smiled sadly. I'll wait, Malik. But you deserve to be free. Dad's video played in my mind on repeat. He had known since I brought Anthony home once for a quick dinner, claiming he was just a roommate. Now it all made sense, the extra questions, the quiet pride in his eyes. Anthony and I visited the LGBTQ youth center Dad mentioned, the one that would get the company if we didn't marry. Kids there shared stories that mirrored mine, fear, rejection, hope. One teen said, my dad never accepted me. You're lucky. The words stuck. Was I lucky? Or was Dad's late blessing too little too late for the family it was breaking? Back in Illinois for a weekend meeting, Ryan met us at the house, his lawyer in tow. We can settle out of court. You take a smaller share, no marriage required. Emily stood beside him, arms crossed. Mom stayed neutral, but her eyes begged for unity. Anthony spoke up. This isn't about money. It's about honoring your father's wish for Malik to live honestly. Ryan scoffed. Honest? He hid for years, and now we pay the price. The argument lasted hours, old wounds opening. I defended our love, the sacrifices Anthony made staying patient. Emily cried, we missed years of knowing the real you because you didn't trust us. Her words hit deep. That night Anthony and I drove to the cemetery, the grave still fresh. He believed in us, I whispered. Anthony nodded. But belief doesn't fix everything. We sat on the grass, the bright moon overhead. For the first time I cried fully, the grief for Dad mixing with the fear of losing my siblings. Anthony held me, no words needed. The weekend ended with no resolution but a small crack. Mom hugged Anthony goodbye. Take care of my son. Small steps. Back in Chicago, the pressure built. A cousin posted online hinting at family drama. Work suffered, I missed deadlines. Anthony noticed. We don't have to do this the way your dad planned. We can walk away from the company. I shook my head. It's not just the business. It's proving to myself I'm not ashamed anymore. The emotional weight grew with every choice. Friends in the city threw us an engagement party, small and joyful. Their support contrasted sharply with home. One friend said, "Your dad gave you permission, Malik. Now give it to yourself." The words echoed. As months passed, the 6-month clock ticked. Ryan filed preliminary papers. Emily stopped calling. Mom mediated from afar. Anthony and I grew closer, our love the one steady thing. Yet the internal storm raged. Was Dad's will a bridge or a wall? The journey of growth had only just deepened, and I wondered if I had the strength to cross it. The holidays approached, and the family invited us back for Thanksgiving at Tense Olive Branch. I accepted, hoping for progress. Anthony packed carefully, his nerves showing. "They might never accept me fully," he said in the car. I squeezed his hand. "We'll see." The house smelled of turkey and pie, but the air was thick. Ryan barely spoke. Emily managed polite smiles. Mom fussed over us both. Dinner conversation stayed surface until Ryan brought up the company. "The deadline is coming, Malik. Think about what Dad really wanted, not some romantic gesture." I set my fork down. "He wanted me to lead it with Anthony. Openly." Emily sighed. "It feels like he picked your happiness over ours." The table went quiet. Anthony defended quietly. "Your father saw our love as part of the family legacy." Ryan pushed back. Legacy? Or guilt for not speaking up sooner? The night ended early. Anthony and I talked on the porch. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm asking too much. He shook his head. "You're not. But they need time too." Work in Chicago intensified, a big project deadline looming. Colleagues asked about the ring. I told the truth for the first time, and the support surprised me. Yet a client pulled out after hearing rumors from Illinois family connections. Prejudice wasn't just home, it was everywhere. Anthony faced questions at school from parents. One meeting turned awkward when a mom hinted at traditional values. He came home frustrated. "I'm tired of being the reason for your stress, Malik." Our first real fight followed, misunderstandings piling up. I accused him of doubting us. He said I was choosing family over our future. We slept apart, the silence heavy. Morning brought apologies and deeper talk. "Your dad's will forced honesty, but it also forced us to face what we avoided," he said. I nodded. The flashbacks returned stronger. The night I almost came out to Dad on a fishing trip but chickened out. His knowing smile the next day. He had waited for me to be ready. Now I had to be. A misunderstanding nearly broke us. Ryan called, claiming I had agreed to drop the condition. I denied it, but Anthony overheard and assumed I was wavering. "If you want out of the marriage, just say it," he said, voice cracking. I pulled him close. "Never. You're my future." We reconciled, but the crack showed how fragile everything was. Friends advised couples counseling. We went the sessions, peeling layers of my hidden years, Anthony's patience wearing thin. Growth hurt. Back home, Mom arranged a family meeting without lawyers. Ryan brought photos of Dad young and strong. "He built this for blood, not secrets." I countered with Dad's video. Emily softened slightly. "I missed the brother who didn't hide." The conversation ended in tears, but no resolution. The sacrifice loomed. I considered walking away from the company to keep peace. Anthony supported whatever I chose. "Your happiness isn't tied to that building, Malik." Yet Dad's words pulled me. The internal battle raged daily. By December, the emotional toll showed. I lost weight, sleep suffered. Anthony stayed rock solid, planning our small wedding anyway. "We do this for us, not them." His strength fueled mine. As the year ended, the rising conflict peaked with a letter from Ryan's lawyer. Contest papers filed. The choice was coming, and I knew it would define me. Through it all, the love I proposed with at the funeral grew deeper, tested but real. The journey of a man learning to stand openly had just reached its hardest turn. January brought the crisis. Ryan's lawsuit hit the local news, small-town gossip exploding. Family feud over gay inheritance, the headline read. My phone blew up. Anthony's school faced parent complaints. We flew to Illinois for an emergency meeting. The lawyer's office felt like a courtroom. Ryan laid out his case. Dad was ill. This condition is invalid. Emily supported him quietly. Mom looked torn. I stood. He was clear. He wanted me to live truthfully. Anthony added, and to build with the man I love. The mediator suggested compromise, joint management, no forced marriage. I almost agreed, the pressure crushing. But Anthony's hand in mine reminded me of the proposal, the courage it took. No. Dad's wish was clear. Outside, Ryan cornered me. You're choosing him over us. After everything Mom sacrificed. The betrayal stung deepest from my own blood. I drove to the cemetery alone, the snow bright under the winter sun. Dad, what did you expect? I whispered. The answer came in memory, his video smile. Sacrifice meant letting go of old fears. That night, the misunderstanding exploded. Anthony found old texts from a college ex on my phone, innocent, but he read doubt. Are you sure about us with all this? He asked, voice breaking. I panicked, defending too hard. He left for a walk, hours passing. Panic set in. I searched the town, finding him at the park where we had our first secret kiss years ago. I'm sorry. You're the only one I want. We talked until dawn, the emotional rawness stripping everything bare. I was scared of losing them, but I can't lose you, I admitted. His forgiveness came with tears. Then fight for us the way your dad asked. The growth moment hit. I called the family for one last meeting at the house. Snow fell outside, bright and clean. I'm marrying Anthony in March. We'll lead the company together. If you can't accept that, I understand, but I won't hide anymore. Ryan stood silent. Emily hugged me first. I'm trying, Malik. For Dad. Mom cried happy tears. Not full reconciliation, but a start. Ryan left without a word, the sacrifice of his full support hurting but necessary. Anthony and I drove back to Chicago, the ring feeling right. The climax passed. I had chosen authenticity over approval. The internal war quieted into peace. Dad's will had forced the awakening I needed. As spring neared, the path ahead felt possible even with scars. March arrived, bright and hopeful. The small wedding in Chicago gathered close friends, the youth center kids Dad supported, and Mom who flew in alone. Ryan and Emily sent cards, polite but distant. Anthony stood handsome in his suit, eyes locked on mine as we said vows under a sunny arch in the park. I choose you every day, I whispered. The kiss felt like freedom. Mom hugged us both afterward. Your father would be proud. The company transition began slowly, Anthony and I visiting Illinois weekends, planning expansions with open hearts. Ryan eventually sat down for coffee, no lawyers. I'm not there yet, but I see you're happy. Emily called more often, sharing family updates. Healing was slow but real. The family rift mended in pieces, not all at once but enough. Our first anniversary as fiancés turned husbands brought us back to the cemetery. We laid flowers, the sun warm on our backs. Thank you, Dad, I said. Anthony smiled. He gave us the push we needed. Life settled into new rhythm. Chicago apartment, now home base, the company thriving under honest leadership. Friends marveled at the change. My growth showed in small ways, coming out fully at work, mentoring young architects struggling like I had. Anthony's teaching included support groups, the youth center, part of our shared mission. The journey from that funeral proposal to this peace had reshaped me. Internal conflicts resolved through choices, sacrifices, and love. The man who hid was gone. In his place stood someone whole. One evening on our balcony, overlooking the bright city lights, Anthony leaned against me. Worth every storm? I laughed softly. Every single one. The story that began with a shocking proposal ended not in perfect harmony but in honest growth. Family, society, and self all tested and stronger for it. True or false? A parent's final wish should always override a son's fear of losing family approval?